Good afternoon, students. This is my first session. So, in this session, I'm going to cover some topics like classes and objects, packages and interfaces, and exception handling, if possible, in this session. Okay. So, uh, first of all, this is about myself. I am Praveen Suranmani. I have completed MCA, MPhil, and has been working as assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science, St. John's College, since June 2014. Okay. So I have experience of 5.5 years. So this is my mail ID. If you have any queries, you can contact me through it. Okay. These are the topics I'm going to cover in this session. Okay. So initially, I would like to say something. I want to cover wider than deeper in every topics I have given here. Okay. So first, I would like to give some hints about Java, some basic things. Moreover, I would like to make you give some knowledge about programming, about implementing these concepts in Java. Okay. So the first half of the session would be the theoretical part, and the next half of the session would be completely programmatical part. Okay. So it will refresh your mind while you prepare for your semester examinations and for your practicals. Okay. So this session will be very useful. So make use of it. So my first topic is some hints about Java. So you guys know about Java, isn't it? So what are the two advantages of Java? Why do we go for Java from other languages? Platform independent, then open source. Yeah, first thing is open source, then platform independent. Why platform independent? What is a platform? What is a platform? An operating system may be a platform, and the hardware we are using our program, we are implementing our program is also can be called as platform. So our program that we create, with which we create our applications, must be platform independent. So if you wish so, we have to go for Java. Yes. So how could we make our Java platform independent? With two things. What are those things? As I have mentioned, JRE and class file. Good. So how the class file is created? How it is created? How it is created? Have you ever seen a class file while implementing Java programs? Yes. When? How? So we would compile the Java program which has been written in Java code. Okay. When we compile it, so it will create a new file with the same name, with an extension .class. Yes, .class. So this is called class file. Okay. So JRE is going to run that class file. JRE is going to run this class file. So with the help of JRE and class file, we are making Java a platform independent. So the JRE content depends upon the platform. Okay. So in case of we are using a Linux based OS, the JRE file would be depend on the code inside the JRE. The packages inside the JRE would be depend on Linux. So the file so commands will be converted into the operating system commands according to the platform. Okay. So this process is done by the JRE. Okay. Right. So next thing, string. So the previous programming languages does not use string as much as Java. Okay. So as we know, Java, all the input and output of Java is string. So then case sensitive, as usual, case sensitive, and you know that, right? So some hints, I will give you some additional informations in between my session. Okay. So the first additional additional information is every class name must start with capital letter. Yes, must start with the capital letter. Every function name must start with the small letter. Okay. So if a function name has more than one words, if a function name has more than one words, for example, read line. So read line is a function, isn't it? What's its purpose? To read a line, to read a text, to read a string from the console or from a file or anywhere. Okay, so it has two names, right? Read line, two words, isn't it? So the first letter of the second word must be caps. So it acts both for class name and also the function name. Okay, if a class name or a function name has two or more words, every word, the initial letter of the every word must be capital. Must be capital. But the only thing that differs is the class name must always start with capital letter, and the function name must always starts with small letter. Yes, that's. So methods. What's a method? So moreover, I would like to say something. I referred some books. Okay, the points I give you in this session is always what I have visualized Java and the programming languages. Okay, so and methods. How do we define a method? Can anyone say? Yeah, it can also be called as function and member function. What else? So why method? What is the purpose of method? Reusability, yes, reusability. That's what I have given, right? So I am giving definition for method in a different way. Okay, you have already studied RDBMS, right? So what is the concept of normalization? Normalization. So avoiding balancing two things. The one thing is data isolation and another thing is data redundancy. Data redundancy. Yes. So now I am saying method is a way to avoid code redundancy. Can you imagine what I am saying? Can you guess? Can you understand what I am saying? Code redundancy. What is code redundancy? What is data redundancy? So two or more tables having same data is called as redundancy, redundant data. Yes, now I am saying code redundancy. What is that? So same code, same lines, we are using more than one or two times, more than two times. So why should we have it again, type it again and again? So we can have it in a separate method and call it whenever we need it. Is it? So this is the purpose of method. So my definition for method is a process of avoiding code redundancy. Okay, right. So a method must have a name so that it can be called, and it has parameter list. What is a parameter? What is a parameter? What? Values. Any other valuable answers? What? Assigning values. Assigning values. We can assign in many ways, isn't it? What else? Passing. Good. Passing what? Passing values. Passing a message to a method. Yes. So we are going to call a method by passing some information, passing some message. This is what called parameter. There are two types of parameters. You know, there are two types of what is that? That's different. So we can call our method in two ways, isn't it? So call by value. Yes, good. Okay, whatever. So now we say, what are the two types of parameters? Actual parameters, good. Actual parameters and dummy parameters. Actual parameters, dummy parameters. Sure. Okay. So now you see, what are actual parameters? So there is a method, there is a main method, main function, there is a method. So we are calling that method, that submodule with the function call, right? So the value or the parameters we pass through the function call is called actual parameter. So a person who represents these parameters are called, in the method is called dummy parameters. Who represent who represent the actual parameter. It's called dummy parameters, right? So these are things about parameters. And return type. What is that? Return type. So a method may produce a printed output, or it may return a value to the calling method or calling function. Okay, it may return a value to the calling function. So that's why we are supposed to mention the return type. So these are the things important about methods. So the next topic is classes. So what are classes? User defined data type. Yes, user defined data type. There are two types of data types, the three types of data types. One, primitive, derived, and user defined. Okay, what is a data type? What is a data type? Okay, mention some primitive data types. Primitive data types: integer, float, double. These are called primitive, default, predefined, so built-in. So these are built-in data types. So what is the derived data type? Derived from the primitive data type. What is that? Have you used? No, not double. Double is also a primitive data type. Arrays, string. Arrays and strings. Yes. So string is a sequence of characters, whereas array is a sequence of data, maybe integer, real values, right? So what is an array? What is an array? Collection of homogeneous data elements. Yes, collection of homogeneous data elements. It may be int, it may be double. Okay, likewise, right? So these are about derived data types. Okay, what is a class? Class is a user defined data type. So we are creating our own data type. We are creating our own. We are defining a structure to the data we are going to use in our program. This is called user defined data type. Okay. What is a class comprised of? What is a class comprised of? Data members and member function, as I have mentioned in the slide. Okay, data members and member functions. Can you imagine which object-oriented programming concept intend to create a class? What are the object-oriented features? Encapsulation, data hiding, polymorphism, inheritance. So among these four, data abstraction. So kind of data hiding, right? What else? Encapsulation. What is encapsulation? Binding of data and its associated functions together. Here, look at that. It comprises of data members and member functions. Member functions that manipulates the data members associated with it. So this is class. So what is encapsulation? Binding of data and associated functions together. So with the class, they are implementing the object-oriented concept called encapsulation, right? So Java. So according to Java, every program must be inside a class. Yes, you know, right? The next thing, object. Yeah, object. So what is an object? Real-time entity. That's what we used to see in our textbooks, right? So real-time entity. What is the next thing? Instance of a class. Instance. What is instance? What is? It's an example. Example of a class. Example of this structure. Class A, which means there is a class named A. Imagine. Visualize. There is a class named A. Okay. So I'm going to create an example for A. So A, ant. A, apple. So apple and ant are examples of A. In other words, instance of A. So in programmatically we call it as objects. Okay, fine. Now I'm going to give my definition for this. What is my definition is, an object is a variable. How can we call an object as variable? So that's what I say. An object is a variable of class type. An object is a variable of class type. So earlier in the previous slide we saw, what we saw? User defined data type. In that type, in the type we created, we are going to create a variable. That's what called object. Can you understand? Yes. Okay. So there is an important keyword. It is necessary for creating an object, which is new. New keyword is used to instantiate or create an object. New keyword. Okay. Right. Constructor. What is a constructor? Yeah, it's a special member function. Constructor is a special member function. It is called automatically. It is called automatically. What I have mentioned, it is called automatically on object instantiation. What is called object instantiation? Object creation. On the creation of an object. Okay. Whenever the object gets instantiated, the constructors automatically gets called by the Java. Right? Okay. What is the purpose of constructors? For initializing, yeah, data members. For initializing data members. This is the main purpose of constructors. Good. The next thing, multiple constructors. Whether it is possible to have more than one constructor? Yes, it is possible. How do we differentiate that? The more important, I have failed to mention that the constructor doesn't have return type. It cannot return anything. It can print, it can initialize, but it cannot return anything. That's a more important thing. Please make note of it. So then we can have multiple constructors. How do we can multiple constructors? The another thing I have missed to mention in this slide is a constructor must have the same name as, yes. So it must have the name as class. So with the same name, it is possible to create, whether it is possible to create multiple methods? Yes, possible. With the help of which object oriented concept? What are the concepts again? Concepts. Encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, data hiding, data abstraction, whatever. What else? Message passing, whatever. So which one of these features is used for having more than one method with the same name? Encapsulation is a binding of, what is the definition for that? Polymorphism. Responding differently to different messages. I mentioned the word message before itself in the second slide, I think, while I teach methods. So we are passing message, I said, isn't it? So the message is nothing but the parameters we pass. Can you understand that? So responding, what is the definition for polymorphism? Responding differently to different messages. So responding differently to different messages means with the difference of the messages, with the difference of the parameter list, we can differentiate methods. So we can have multiple constructors, multiple methods within a same class. So this is called polymorphism. This is the implementation of polymorphism, right? Right. Or else. Next, packages. So this is advantages over other previous programming languages. What is a package? A package is a collection of Java files. Collection of Java files like classes, interfaces, and other jar files. Maybe a jar file can be there. Okay. So in general, we can call a class as collection of classes and interfaces. Okay, fine. So we have seen about classes. We will see about interfaces in the next slide. And before that, what is a package according to your visualization? What is a package? How do you see that? Can you see the package? Predefined? No. Packages are not predefined functions. What is a package? Simply, Could you see the package, see any package in the system? Collection of functions. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen a package? Have you ever created a package? How it was visualized to you? Like a? How it was visualized to you? How did you see the package? Like a folder, isn't it? So for package is nothing but a folder. That's nothing tedious thing regarding that. Okay. So package is just a folder, so the things inside the package, inside that folder used to be classes and interfaces. That's it. That's the thing. So package is nothing but a folder. This is what I visualize. Okay. You cannot see these definitions in any textbook. So package is nothing but a folder. It has classes and interfaces. That's it. Right. So there are two types of packages: default package and user defined packages. We can create our own packages. So can you say any predefined packages you have imported in our programs? IO? Yeah, java.io is a package. Applet, yes, good. AWT, util. So these are the packages that are present already. Okay. So you can create your own package. You can create your own package. We will discuss these things. We will implement these things as programs. Okay. Right. Very soon. So what is an interface? It's a skeleton of a class. It's a skeleton of a class. Why it is called a skeleton of a class? So a class consists of what? A class comprises of data members and member functions, whereas the interface consists of data members and member function declarations. Member function declarations, not the definitions. So the definitions, you have to create your own definition for every method inside that interface. Can you understand? So this is what interface. Why it is used? Do you know that? Okay, what is inheritance? What is inheritance? Deriving a class, textbook, literal definition. Deriving a class from existing class is called inheritance. So this is how I visualize accessing the properties of an existing class is called inheritance. Accessing the properties of an existing class. I am going to access the properties of another class. This is called inheritance. So C++. Do you know about that? C++. You have created, you have implemented inheritance in C++ also, right? So what are the inheritance? What are the types of inheritance you have made in C++? Single, multiple, multi-level, hierarchical, hybrid. These are the kinds. Okay. So one particular inheritance is not possible in Java. Multi? Is that so? Multiple inheritance is not possible. Multiple inheritance is not possible. If you go inside that topic, it will take much time. So multiple inheritance is not possible. To make our class has more than one class or derived from more than one class or structure, that is not possible in Java. So we can make use of interfaces. Okay, right. Finally, exception handling. Exception means unexpected errors. Some unexpected errors may occur in our program, isn't it? In our logic. So we can avoid that. We can avoid the so we can avoid that with the help of exception handling. So when such kind of errors occurs, for example, like divide by 0, what will be the answer if a number is divided by 0? Infinity. So infinity cannot be represented, right? So infinity number cannot be represented. So so in that situation, the program stops abruptly without handling exceptions, right? So we can make our program stop smoothly with the help of exception handling. Okay, So these 5 things are more important in regarding exception handling. So what are the things? We have 5 blocks, right? So what are the things? Try, catch. Yes, try, catch, throw, throws, finally. What is try? Why it is used for? What is it used for? So we suspect a piece of code that some error would occur there. So we are supposed to keep that piece of code inside try block. Okay. Whether it is enough? No, not enough. Okay. So it may throw an error. The try block throw an error which it was supposed to. So that error has to be caught by a method called catch. Catch. So catch catches the function and terminates the program smoothly. Terminates the program smoothly, right? So then we can have throws. We can throw our own exceptions. We can allow Java to handle the exception with the help of throws. And finally, whether the exception arises or not, we had to make some very few lines of code to execute. So that piece of code has to be given inside finally block. Finally block. Okay, fine. Do you have any doubts here? Any queries regarding this? Any doubts? Okay. Thank you.